It's my favorite to do any other.
I love it. Okay, so Anne just set me up beautifully to kind of bring everything that we've been talking about today together. So I'm going to talk to you kind of the objectives a little bit today are to master some SMART goals. I know that most of you in this room probably know SMART goals. I know that. But I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we can use them to transform a lot of these like large projects that we've been talking about into really manageable bite-sized pieces. I'm going to talk to you about how we can adapt our focus based on where you're at in your term of service. And I'm going to help just kind of bring together some tools, some tips and tricks, some things just based on my professional experience on how you can track and accomplish these goals. But I know we've been sitting all day and Ange just did a little bit of this, but I'm going to start with a little bit of a fun game. So I don't know if you guys have ever played this before, but this is called This or That. What I'm going to do, I have about 15 slides, and there's going to be something up here where if you agree with the thing under the sit, you're going to stay sitting. If you agree with the thing under the stand, you're going to stand. It'll be evident when I get to the next slide. Ethan is ready. Ethan is ready. Okay, if you are an early bird, please stand. If you're a night owl, please remain sitting. Yes. Everyone can participate, even if you're not an AmeriCorps member. I would love to see you guys participating. So early birds, just 2 early birds. I'll join you. I'm an early bird. Okay, mostly night owls in the room. Okay. If you are a to-do list person, please stand. If you're more of a wing it person, please sit. Okay, a lot of to-do lists. Okay. If you were forced to do one of these, would you rather be on the dance floor, stand, or sing karaoke, sit?
Both of them.
Now you gotta pick one. You gotta commit. You gotta commit. We have some singers in the room. Okay, I would catch me on the dance floor for sure. Okay, stand if you're a snooze person. Sit if you're get up immediately.
Not use a snooze button.
Oh, I'm a get up immediate girly for sure. Feet on the ground. Let's go. No way, no way. Okay, stand if you prefer the beach. Sit if you prefer the mountains. I know.
Depending on the time of year.
No. All right, important question. Stand if you're a Bobcat fan. Sit if you're a Grizzly fan.
NPA is from.
Yeah, I know. I knew we were going to be outnumbered in the room, but I still had to do it anyways. Stand if you prefer Glacier. Sit if you prefer Yellowstone.
Yeah, that's the home country.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. This is a really important question. Which way is the TP roll supposed to go?
Stand.
Stand. Over. Sit if it's supposed to go under.
It's just weird. I feel right about it. There's a method to my madness. Not a bullet. There's a method to my cat. If it's the other way, I lose all my toilet paper.
Okay, that's fair. That's totally fair. That's totally fair.
I have an image on my phone that shows the patent of the toilet paper roll, and it's forward.
It's which.
Mustache, not a motel.
Okay, another important question. Does pineapple belong on pizza?
Yes.
Stand if you think yes, sit if you think no. Okay, we're pretty split. We're pretty split. Okay, stand if you have a bajillion unread emails. Sit if you're inbox 0, you like your inbox clean. Yeah, okay. I prefer inbox 0. It's a nightmare at the moment.
Personally,
yes,
all right.
Good.
Okay, please stand if you prefer a group project. Sit if you prefer individual work.
Depends on the group.
Yeah, I know. I get that. Yeah, it's a trick question. I know. Okay. Stand if you would prefer to give a presentation. Sit if you would prefer to organize a spreadsheet. I know, Ange. We gotta wait to see. Yeah, well, you just gotta pick what goes with your gut. Okay. Okay, and my leading one into my presentation, which person would you loan your money to for another project? Person A says, I worked really hard and talked to a lot of people about mental health. So stand for that person. Or person B, I trained 82 people in mental health first aid and created 8 new access points for 998 resources in Hill County between March and December of 2025.
Beautiful.
Yeah, right, everybody's sitting. Okay, perfect. Thank you for no one standing on that one. That would have failed the entire activity, so thank you so much. Okay, so like I talked about at the beginning, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about kind of creating a roadmap for your AmeriCorps term of service. And that last question was intentionally leading. And so was a lot of what Ange was talking about too, just the importance of capturing data and numbers throughout your term of service. There is going to be so much more important work that you do than that too. And I don't want that to get lost. But at the same time, capturing that impact and being able to tell your story is a really important piece of the work that we do and that you will continue to do once you leave here. One thing I want to share too is how you want to capture that and how you want to tell your story after your term of service. So there was a question over here about what am I going to do? I can't remember exactly what it was, but like, what do I want to do after my term of service? We're not going to be able to answer that question for you, but what we can do is help you set up yourself for success to be able to tell your story and so that you can market yourself to whatever that is you decide to do, you can help yourself market yourself better. So one of the things that I like to kind of talk about is on my resume. This is a while ago, but one of my first jobs after after I graduated is I worked in the admissions office at MSU. And I worked there for 3 years. I recruited students. So I could put on my resume just that. I recruited students for Montana State University. Instead, I have on there that I was a part of the recruitment team that increased Montana State University's enrollment by 9% over 3 years. Which of those is more impactful?
The latter,
The latter, right? How did I do that? I kept track of that information while I was there. And that's the only reason that I have that data and can tell that story today. It's still on my LinkedIn. You can check it out. I swear it's still there. But if I wasn't keeping track of those numbers while I was in that job, I wouldn't be able to tell that story to you all today. So I tell you that just as Ange was talking about, making sure that as you start your term of service, that we're capturing this data, all of this information, however you want to do that, just making sure that you're capturing it. Okay, another piece of this that we're going to be talking about is, like I said, breaking down that big project overview that you have in your folders that you talked about with your site supervisor. How are we going to break that down into manageable pieces? There was a thing over here about, I can't remember exactly what it said. Turning project outcomes into day-to-day service. We're going to talk a little bit about how to do that with SMART goals today. And there's also a piece over there about preventing burnout. And one of the best ways to prevent burnout is to be realistic with what you can accomplish in the time that you're given. I was talking to Ethan about this because I'm a site supervisor, in case you guys haven't figured that out by now. You cannot, this is a pretty short term of service, relatively speaking. 8 months is not that long. And so you have to be realistic with what you can accomplish in 8 months. And so you don't want to come out guns a-blazing and think you're going to solve all of the world problems in the 8 months. So let's create a roadmap for what you can realistically accomplish in those 8 months. And let's make sure that we have that kind of spelled out month by month. And that will make sure that you're staying on track and prevent that burnout. So that's what we're doing here today. I'm sure we've all seen this. Have we heard of SMART goals before? Right? Yeah, most of us. Okay. I knew that was going to be the case. And like Ange said this morning about the 4 C's, I know that you all are a very intelligent group. And that is not, we're not trying to be patronizing here. We just want to make sure that we're all in here using the same language so that we can kind of work on some activities together. So SMART goals. Let's talk a little bit about them. So SMART is an acronym, and it just helps us kind of have a checklist in mind for the types of goals that we can create just to make sure that we have a really good, kind of really specific goals. And I can kind of go through. So start with this, specific. A goal should be clear and easy to understand, avoid vague intentions, define the who, what, where, when, and why. So an example of this, you could have a goal that says, I want to help patients with their paperwork. That's pretty vague. What does that mean? Help what patients with what paperwork, right? So a way to make this a little bit more specific would be, I will provide one-on-one enrollment assistance for the Medicaid program to the uninsured patients at the Missoula City County Health Department. So a way to make a kind of vague goal and just be a little bit more specific. So ask yourself questions about who, what, where, when, and why can really help make sure that these goals are a little bit more specific. Okay, M stands for measurable. I feel like we've talked about this a lot today, just with data sheets and things like that. But a goal is something that you should be able to track it. You should be able to assess whether you're progressing, and always thinking in mind, how are we going to track that? When will you know if you've reached your goal? So an example, kind of a bad example, I will talk to people at the 998 Suicide Lifeline. A good way to make that measurable would be, I will distribute 250 wallet cards and give 5 presentations to local civic groups about the 998 Suicide Lifeline, reaching a minimum of 300 people. Do we all see how adding just a few more specifics in there? Because this one here, I will talk to people about the 998 Suicide Lifeline. How do we know if we've reached that? We've talked to one, we're good? Right? It's tough to know. So adding some numbers to it can just help make sure we're actually meeting the intention behind the goal that we set. Okay, achievable. This is the one I talked about. Is this something that you can realistically accomplish in the time frame that you've been given? Can you complete it by the time you reach your end of term in your 1,200 hours? So this one's for you, Sammy. I'm sure every person in Richland County has access to high-speed internet for telehealth by August. Probably not going to happen, right? But what can we do? How can we make a dent in that goal? Maybe instead, I will set up one private telehealth kiosk in the Richland County Library and create a simple one-page instruction guide for seniors. We're still making strides towards accomplishing people having access to telehealth, but being more realistic about what that means and what we could accomplish in an 8-month time frame. Maybe someday everyone in Richland County will have high-speed internet.
Someday.
But it's probably not going to be by August. Okay. Relevant. So ask yourself, why are you setting this goal? And if it benefits you or your host site, either now or in the future. Does it address Montana's health needs? Is it good for you? Is it worthwhile? So an example of this, I'm going to spend my time organizing old medical records from 1995. Maybe not so much. That is not the purpose of CHCM. Probably not going to build you professionally. So I just made this one up, but you can just change that to be something a little bit more relevant to what you're focusing on. I will partner with the local school district to identify 10 families experiencing food insecurity and connect them to the Backpack Meals program, or whatever it is that you're doing in your host agency. So just make sure that when you're setting your goals, that it is within those realms of the things that Ange talked about for CHCM, or it's going to benefit you professionally and for your long-term goals. Okay, time bound. A goal should have a start and an end point. Checkpoints throughout are also really helpful just to make sure that you're staying on track, can make it a little bit more manageable. And also can help end of term panic just by breaking it into manageable chunks. So an example of that, a goal could be, I'll create a volunteer manual. It's a good goal, but if we start by saying, I will complete a first draft of the volunteer manual for my organization by March 1st, get supervisor feedback by March 15th, and have a final version by April 1st. That's going to hold us to a lot more tangible deadlines, because this is really vague and just like you can get kind of lost in, I'm supposed to create a volunteer manual. What does that even mean? But by having these benchmarks, that can really help us kind of move the needle. Okay, so I've created a SMART goals checklist. I'm actually going to hand this out to you guys. the part of an activity later, but at least you'll have it. Pass that down. So just some things to keep in mind when you're creating SMART goals, just kind of a checklist to go through as you're creating some goals, which we are going to work on here a little bit. Does this goal name a specific town, organization, or population? Can you tell by reading your goal who your target audience is for it? Measurable. Is there a number attached to it? Is there a number of hours, number of people, number of flyers, number of referrals, number of something attached to your goal? Achievable. Can I realistically get this done in the time frame that I've been given? Relevant. Does this align with the CHCM focus area, or does it align with one of your personal professional goals? And time bound. Is there a specific month or time period listed for completion? If you say no on any of those things, it is not a SMART goal, and you need to revisit it. So we are going to do an activity to make sure that we're all on the same page for how to make a SMART goal. So what I'm going to have you guys do, we're going to get up and we're going to pair with each other, and we're just going to kind of rotate through. We might have to do some groups of 3 too, and that's okay. So we have a few here of just some goals that need a little bit of work. And we're going to have you guys just in your pairs or groups of 3, just talk about what's wrong with this goal and how might you enhance this goal to make it SMART, which is why I gave you guys your sheets ahead of time, just so you have that checklist, just in case you forgot what SMART stands for. So the first one is I'll attend outreach events on behalf of my organization. So get up, find somebody to pair with, talk about what's wrong with it and how you might make it SMART. Do it to it.
Well, I would say there's a time period. There's no specific town, no population, anything like that. No numbers attached to anything, like how many people are getting or how reach out. No. Yeah. Is the numbers attached to them. Measurable. How many?
4 hours.
Yeah.
It's
Got
not.
no time on to. So we gotta make it into a better one, correct? You gotta fix it.
Fix it, which is it's very vague. So change it however you want.
7 reach
Area, what is it?
Event.
There's something with help.
in city manager. I will attend on behalf of my. Outreach, representatives and county. Every month. Every now week. Probably just for months.
There you go.
Boom, boom.
Nailed it.
So I get 10.
Nailed it.
That sound right? That sound good?
Okay.
Yeah.
I see some people, these guys are still working.
Ooh, we need to focus on 10. Yeah. Say. We just use the bench, the lunch, see this for the. Telehealth visits or something. Something like that, but as like a mental, mental health issue. But the aspects of that are still being, yeah, but like your.
Okay, I think most of us are wrapped up. So what's wrong with the goal? What's missing?
All kinds of things,
All kinds of things, like what?
that there's no specific town organization.
Yeah, it's not specific. What events are we attending and why and when? Right? Okay, who can make this SMART? Who's done it? Who's fixed this goal?
You can say it, I didn't write it down, I just have it in my.
What do you got, Donna?
Richland or organization.
Okay,
Yeah.
adding in the organization name. Okay.
Yeah, person town department, all the time.
Okay.
Yep.
What else would we add in there?
4 outreach events.
Okay, I like that. How many? Yep.
People might be there.
Okay.
We wanted to add, the time frame in which we get those events done.
Yep. Exactly.
Who's the-
So what do you got, Jade?
So I said I will attend one outreach event on behalf of insert organization.
Yep,
One time per month during my service term.
love it. Perfect. Nailed it. Good job, you guys. Okay, I want to make flyers about suicide prevention. Find somebody new. I know, movement, it's good for you. Oh, I know, it's really awful. Talk about what's wrong with it and how you might fix it, and we're gonna go a little bit faster.
Relevancy.
I want to make flyers about suicide.
There's one group of three, so just join wherever you can, Ruby.
So, I want to make 2 flyers
All I know.
about suicide prevention.
I want to make 30 flyers.
Need to have, yeah.
You want to have a draft?
Okay, I wanna make
This flyer about suicide prevention. Done by specific challenge, supervisor, certain front line, get a final draft.
Have it.
What do you think?
Some boards,
Like
I'll take flyers.
I'll make
30 flyers. I want. 30 flyers for mental health awareness day.
just because I got
Every month. And I'll make. So we say, would that be like specific organization that was, so I wanna make. Flyers for. What was the organization? Let's see. Yellowstone Green. I wanna make. Flyers for the Yellowstone Coalition about suicide prevention. Was. To have it published by blank. Oh, first draft. Resources. To first draft done in a month.
Yeah.
Would just be like supervisor. Have it reviewed by this month. Okay, so 2 weeks after that.
I'm just gonna put.
Final first published, 3 months. Before it starts coming. Yeah, so see, it's smart, it's a pretty smart goal. Want to make 30 flyers every month for your suicide prevention resources to. So.
Okay, I hear it getting quiet. So what's wrong with this goal?
Everything.
Everything. It's just vague. It's not bad. It's not a bad goal. It's a good thing to want to make flyers about suicide prevention, right? But how can we make it smart? Well, I heard you saying some good stuff. What do you got over there?
Yes, well, Donna was saying about the organization that we want to make flyers for, which is the Yellowstone Coalition.
Okay.
And then also having dates with each draft, like, our first draft will be done in a month. Final, or have our supervisors look it over in another month, final draft published 3 months from now.
Love
Something
it.
like that.
Yes. Great. Good job, you guys. Perfect. Okay. I'm gonna skip that one because I think it's repetitive. Okay, let's do this one. Then we have one more after that. So this one is, I will spend my first month researching best practices for rural health communication, so I'm fully prepared for my term. Find somebody, talk about what's wrong with it, and make it smart.
I like that.
Yeah.
So. You can say, it already has a time frame.
Yeah.
First month.
Is it also already has relevancy?
Roll call begin campus.
Yes, you can say.
No, we need something better. That's a whole. Referrals.
Yeah.
So also my.
So like, I was gonna,
I did a.
or,
Research on rural health.
you can say more specific in this specific rural health community.
And so I looked
And
at
then
like.
be like,
all
you
the
know,
Programs.
that's what I'm listening to.
And some of them that were also tied,
Yeah.
like tribal programs.
What?
So it's
Yeah,
not
we
about
got
just one
what
place to go out.
Yeah, I feel like
And it was
best
just me,
practices
wasn't
is
it?
saying, I feel like,
So
Like,
that's why I was like.
yeah.
Yeah.
After,
Like 4 hours.
Breakdown.
So for this dark stuff.
Yeah.
that's what you're saying, best practices, and then also, I think, and what the first one is like. But it's not too bad, so maybe having a specific number of hours.
But I don't really get.
I can say, like,
Yeah, by this date, and I'll have,
Look at this, this is, takes a while.
maybe even make like,
I think it
or
also
like,
be a little more like specific, sounds like just best practices for health communications is super good. Like,
go to the library or
try to narrow it
with
down.
my supervisor or.
Like maybe like within your organization.
Yeah.
say best practices for this in X.
Every goal I'm gonna have after this is gonna be a smart goal.
Different.
Exactly. Okay, I hear things quieting down. This one's a little trickier. What's wrong with this one?
Not.
It's not.
It's not realistic to me.
It's not realistic. Why not?
Well, I have to do something like this before. It was researching best practices of spiritual programs. And it took me longer than 1 month to do it. It was this one person.
It totally can.
I was telling her, had a team, it would take not this long, but
Yeah.
it was just me.
Yeah, you're not gonna learn everything there is to know about rural health communication in a month. That's absolutely true. Yeah, that's true.
maybe dialing.
Yeah, right, okay. What else could we do to this? What else is wrong with it?
You were saying maybe being more specific with defining best practices, what community you're looking at, and what month, or like what a month means, like how many hours a week. Or I don't know, it's being more.
Yeah, you guys nailed it, exactly that. If I gave you this and I said, if I came to you, Ethan, and I said, I want you to spend your first month researching best practices for rural health communication, and I left the room.
Yeah.
What would you do?
Where do I look? What
What-
are the best practices?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You still have questions, right? That means this goal is not specific enough.
Yeah.
It means there's more that you need to flush out here. So you need to be specific. Where are you going to research these best practices? Who are you going to talk to? So let's outline that. I'm going to talk to X person on this date about this topic. Be more specific about how you're going to do this research over the next month. Does that make sense?
So much.
Okay, perfect. Because inherently there's not a whole lot wrong with this goal. I wrote it to be a little bit tricky for you guys to be like, wait, what? Not inherently wrong. But I want you guys to take away from this is, how can I be a little bit more specific here and break this down into tangible activities? Because this is too lofty. If I asked you to do this, you would give me a blank stare and be like, I don't know where to start. So then start by breaking it down into manageable pieces. Okay. This is the last one. Starting February 1st, I will host a weekly health literacy workshop at the local library and have at least 40 people attend every single week.
That's a lot.
Okay, find somebody and talk about it. What's wrong with it?
Oh, sorry, yeah, here first. There's this one.
Comment.
There's our. At the local library, there's a location.
Yeah, because we have,
At least 40 people.
Imperial.
There's our.
if you're gonna have 40 people every week.
For our people.
Oh, yeah.
Is
That
this
seems
realistic?
weird to me though. Have at least 40 people, like how do you control that?
I mean, I feel like it'd be hard.
I don't like that.
Yeah, every single.
Got to start
Everyone's got- How many weeks you gonna do that?
every single week. So that's a little.
Well, it doesn't
tricky.
say.
Is that achievable?
I feel like it's on the right path.
Just until the end of time. Relevant, I mean.
Our local library, probably be specific,
Is
like
this
the Bozeman
achievable?
local library.
I
or
think
whatever
we
the
get-
name is.
Yeah.
I think it could be a little unrealistic.
Yeah, I put.
Very locations. Yeah, I think it was.
That's a bigger library versus a little country library.
Yeah. There's only five. I feel like we're thinking.
The goal is.
Yeah, there should be very location
I'm
specific.
not saying have that.
Really hard to.
With an aim.
Yeah, aim and then
Yeah.
a promise.
I will
Or
fail.
like you say, put a amount person, and then maybe you're.
Got to know me at all times, so never catch me laughing.
Yeah, that's the goal. Want to get at least 40, at least like 30, and then say salty at least 40 or something.
Okay, what do we got?
This one was better, it's increasing, it's.
Yeah,
good.
better. Okay, what's wrong with it?
Well, we felt that it's being realistic would heavily depend on where you're located.
Sure.
Because like if you're in like a really, really populated place, then yeah, 40 people every week might be more attainable, but if you're in a smaller county, that's really unrealistic for every single week, like maybe it's like, I wanna reach 40 people by the end of, this time period, but trying to make it that specific every week, I feel like is unrealistic.
Yeah, yeah. You nailed it, Jade. The point of this one was just to remember to keep your goals realistic and achievable. Hosting something every single week and having at least 40 people attend every single week is going to burn you out. So just remember to keep that in mind when you're creating your goals to make them achievable and make sure that they are within the realm of something that you can actually do. I don't care what community you're in, you're not going to get 40 people anywhere in Montana to attend every single week. You're not going to do it. It doesn't matter where you're at. This is not an achievable goal. So thank you. Yeah, good job, you guys. You can sit down.
Okay.
But you're definitely not going to do it in Sydney.
No.
Okay, so
Yeah. How about two?
to kind of tie this into the understanding questionnaire that you all were working on with your site supervisor, the reason I wanted to go through those SMART goals is because you guys were given a project overview sheet with a few things on it. You guys were talking to your site supervisor about some projects. And it can be a little bit overwhelming to look at this big project of, I'm supposed to do this big thing. I'm supposed to create this educational module, or I'm supposed to do this thing. And that's a lot. It's daunting. And so the point of going through that was just using these SMART goals to make it a little bit more manageable, break it down. There was also a piece on here, it was under the clarity section about what does progress look like in this role. I've also kind of tied that into how can we craft goals around 30 days, midterm, and end of term using the SMART goal framework. So not only can you track what your progress looks like with your supervisor, but you can also stay on track with what these goals looks like as well. So here's kind of what I came up with. And I've never taught this before. You guys are just flying by the seat of my pants here, so just bear with me. So my kind of thought was kind of each stage throughout your term of service, some different focus areas that you can really be kind of leaning into when you're looking at creating your goals. So within your first 30 days, really focusing in on learning. That's what you guys are here to do. You're not going to start that health literacy workshop tomorrow. You have no idea probably where the library is even at if you just moved to your community, right? So let's focus in on what do you need to know? Who do you need to meet? What do you need to learn? So let's create some goals around that. And maybe it's, creating goals around trainings completing or systems learned. That's what we should be focusing in on for our first 30 days. Now, when we go to midterm, this is looking at focusing more on impact. This is really where we're getting into the meat of that service, doing and delivering. So our focus should be on that main service that you'll be providing. So your goals are going to be more of that output base. This will be more of what we were just talking about. Numbers of flyers, community members trained, volunteers recruited, those things that Ange was talking about with the data sheets are probably going to be showing up more in your mid to end of term, more of those kind of tangible things. And then end of term, something you probably haven't really been thinking about too much, but something that you should be focusing on towards the end of your term is sustainability. How do you want to wrap up your term of service so it lasts after you leave? You do not want to come in, do all this hard work for 8 months, peace out, and then nobody ever does anything with it. That's not the legacy that you want to leave. So how can we focus that on your goals to be outcome based on projects finalized, transition guides, and really just sustainable systems left. So, and I'm going to give some examples of this before we kind of break out and have you guys do this yourself. So we're going to come back to that. Some other things too, don't go at this alone. So sharing your goals with someone increases your likelihood of success. So, and there's a lot of studies on this. I'm not going to go into it too much. Ange and I are both kind of data and science nerds, but so I put it up here, but just setting a goal yourself and keeping it to yourself. There's a 43% success rate with that. Sharing it with somebody else increases that to a 76% success rate. If you schedule regularly check-ins with your accountability partner, success rate goes up to 95%. So if you're taking, oh yeah. So if you're taking away anything from this, it's, and I have it on your sheet, so don't worry. It's when you create these goals, share it with somebody. It's intimidating to say, this is what I want to do with my term of service, and these are the goals that I have, but it works. Science works, you guys. And not only share it with somebody, but ask if you can have them be a part of your scheduled check-ins. Ask them to say, will you follow up with me on this in 2 months or 3 months or whatever it is? Ask for those scheduled check-ins, because that success rate of those goals is going to go up. Okay. Other things that we've been talking about, don't forget to celebrate your wins throughout your term and capture them. So one of the things that I would suggest, and kind of do this however you want, it doesn't, you know, everybody's different on how they want to do this, but create a wins journal. And there's a lot of different ways to do this, whether you're a paper person or you want to document in a Google Doc or whatever this looks like. And there's a lot of different methods to it. If you want to do a monthly reflection of, go back and just say, what is the most meaningful thing that happened this month? What kind of progress did I make? What data do I need to capture? And this would be kind of a side note to the things that you need to be collecting for Ange on a biweekly basis. And I should have said that at the beginning. There's things you're collecting for Ange. Not everything that you're going to do is going to fit into Ange's data sheet. It doesn't mean it's not important. Just like the little footnote on my resume that says I helped increase Montana State University's enrollment by 9% over 3 years. Nobody told me to track that, but it's important. So figure out what those things are that are important for you to track and figure out a way to capture it throughout your term. There is also this thing called the weekly 3-2-1 method, where at the end of each week, you can reflect back and just capture 3 small wins. So 3 just little things that happened that week. 2 people moments, so just 2, whether like human to human interactions, whether it be, I got a shout out from my supervisor today, or I had a really good interaction with a volunteer at the garden, or whatever it might be, just 2 human moments. And then something measurable that happened this week, which will really help capture that data a little bit better. These are just a couple of examples of ways that you can capture it. I would encourage you all to just think about, how would you best capture this and do it in your own way. I can tell you all of these different methods, but at the end of the day, what works best for you is going to be the thing that keeps you accountable to this. But I just want to say that don't get so bogged down in, I have to track this, I have to do that, that you don't just stop for a second and celebrate the big, amazing things that you all are doing. Okay, so some tools and some tips for tracking. There's a lot of things on here, and I don't have a ton of time to cover it because I have 14 minutes left with you all. So I'm not going to go through all of this. I will throw this out there to you. If you don't know how to use some of these things on here and you're interested in learning more, schedule time with me and I will walk you through anything. Okay. And I promise I will make time for any one of you. But there are a ton of tools out there to help you with this. So data trackers, things like Excel and Google, activity logs. So some of you were talking about, like, how do I keep track of my activities? Another thing that I didn't hear come up as a way to track activity would be to do it on your Outlook or your Google Calendar. You could just track it right at the top, or each day you could say, I spent 8 hours in service or 8 hours in training or whatever it is, just right there on your calendar. So that's another thing I didn't hear come up today. However it works for you, I just want to throw some things out there. Different survey tools. So there's Google Forms, Microsoft Forms, Qualtrics, SurveyMonkey. There's so many different options for you. Notes and journals. So there's OneNote, Google Docs, Microsoft Word. I did put good old paper on here. That was for you, Ethan. Planning tools. I did want to show you one planning tool really quick that I use, which is called To Do and Planner. So I am going to pull that up really quick. Actually, I'm going to cover just this really quick and then I'll go into that. I did just recently make the transition from paper to digital. So it's a transition, y'all. I'm working on it. One thing that you all did not know, because it's still in progress, is that you all will have access to MSU's systems. So you all have, whether you want it or not, a Montana State University email address and a net ID. It is coming, you don't have it yet. So if you don't have access to Microsoft Suite or Qualtrics or WebEx or Teams or tools like this at your host organization, you will have the ability to access them through Montana State University. You do not have to use them. I just want you to know that they exist in case you do not have them available to you at your host organization. Okay, I'm gonna do this and then I'm gonna just really briefly cover the to-do thing with you because I think it's really cool. Then I'm gonna walk you through that sheet in front of you. Okay, so some other kind of tips and tricks. Don't aim for 100% completion in 1 week. That is what leads to that burnout that we were talking about over there. Just aim for 1% better every day. Small, consistent wins will go a really long ways over your 8 months. Something that took me a really long time in my professional life to figure out is that your time is precious. And I cannot get anything done if I'm constantly going back and forth in between meetings. So schedule some no meeting time. Schedule time in your calendar. If you have a big task, if you have, you have to get this report done, or you need something where you need 4 uninterrupted time, put it on your calendar so you don't have anybody interrupting you. So schedule time, block it off, and say, this is what I'm doing for that 4 hours, and hold yourself to it and get it done. Standing meeting every week to do your data, timesheets, etc., on everything that we need to keep track of. So I have a story for this one. As Anne just talked about, we have a lot of federal reporting. Kaylin told you we are a federally funded organization. We have a ton of different federal grants. And so we have to report to the federal government. We have this huge report that's due every July. And as Kaylin mentioned, I oversee our AHEC Scholars Program. We have nearly 500 students who are all doing clinical rotations across the state of Montana, and I have to report on where those clinical rotations are happening. We have a system, those come in, and for the most part, if the clinical site exists in our system, thumbs up, easy going. But for an entire year, I ignored that if a student put in a new clinical site, I had to add it to the system for an entire year. 500 students logging their clinical sites, and I ignored it for a year until July came up. And I had to report on those, and I had to go back through 600 hand-entered clinical sites from students, and it took me weeks. So what I've done is I've scheduled a standing meeting on my calendar for every other Friday to check the facilities so that I will never do that again. Every 2 weeks, I go in and I say, what new clinical sites have been entered by my students in the last 2 weeks? And I take care of it. It takes me 20 minutes every 2 weeks to handle that instead of 2 weeks in July. You see how much easier that is? So put a meeting on your calendar. That's how you're gonna get Ange the stuff that she needs on time. Put something on your calendar every, whatever day you wanna make it, doesn't matter to me. Put it on your calendar, 30 minutes, block it off. And you're gonna put that, you're gonna get your data together. So when Ange asks for it, you have it ready to go. You can also put in there, you can check off on your goals, whatever you want, just put it on your calendar. And so that it's standing there every single week, I promise you, it's gonna make a huge difference. Okay, the last one, I learned this email hack within the last 6 months, and it's literally changed my life, which is 3 minutes or less. This is also relevant to tasks as well. But if you get an email or if you can do a task in 3 minutes or less, just do it. If it's going to take you longer than that and you don't have time to do it in the moment, come back to it. But I tell you, when this changed my life with email, it really did. If an email comes in and I can answer it and I can handle it like this and it'll take me 3 minutes or less, I answer it immediately. If it's one of those that I need to think about and I need to okay, I got to come back to this one, it goes to a specific folder and I come back to it when I have time on my calendar to do it. I'm telling you, it changed my life. So think about that. This is good for your personal life too. If you're like, I don't want to put that laundry away, or I don't want to do that. 3 minutes or less, put it away. Okay. Okay, so I have no time. It's all right, you guys. If anybody's interested in learning the to-do tool, come see me. Okay. So let's practice. I'll give you these sheets and we have no time to do it because we have to let you hear from Stephanie Ironshooter because she's amazing. But I will give you your sheets so that you can go through them on your own time. I actually did give you your sheets, so that's good. So on there will be kind of an example for you to go through based on this 30 days midterm end of service that I talked about. But I wanted to give you an example for what this looks like, and then you can kind of do it on your own time. So the question is, looking at your project overview, what is one task that feels the most intimidating or huge right now? So I made one up. I need to launch a county-wide telehealth awareness campaign to help seniors in rural areas access virtual doctor's appointments, but I've never run a marketing campaign and I don't know any of the local providers yet. So what could you do within your first 30 days? So I did one here, and then I want to hear from you guys too, other examples. So one idea, by February 12th, I will conduct 5 informational interviews with local clinic staff and librarians to identify the top 3 barriers seniors face when trying to use technology for telehealth. What else could we do within our first 30 days?
Talk to the seniors themselves.
Talk to the senior, maybe host a focus group at the senior center, right? I've never run a marketing campaign. First 30 days, I said we should be focusing on training, getting to know people. Maybe we find a training course on marketing, running Canva, something like that, that's gonna show us how to do a better job at marketing, right? So focusing in on what do I need to know and who do I need to get to know? Does that make sense? Okay, midterm, by May 1st, I will design and distribute 250 plain language brochures to 5 high traffic rural locations, such as post office and senior centers in Garfield County. Anything else we can, I mean, there's a lot that can be done. This is the meat of the service, right? Okay, end of service. By August 5th, I will create a campaign playbook in OneNote that includes contact info for all partners, design templates, and a distribution schedule for next year's member. So this is just an example of, we've done all of this amazing work. Let's not let it get lost. Okay, does that make sense, you guys? Because we have no time to do it ourselves. We have like 5 minutes to do it ourselves. So I might let you take a stab at it. But I just don't want any of that information to kind of get lost. So why don't we give you the next few minutes to work on at least that section of the worksheet that I gave you all. There is more to it on the back. You can create additional SMART goals for the rest of your term, which I do encourage you to do on your own time. There are some questions there about identifying barriers and things that might get in the way. So I do encourage you to take time with this sheet. We just won't have time to do it today, but take a couple of minutes to at least try to get started on that first part.
I made it task. It's a fake task. But I waited one that I definitely know. Okay.
Only made for her.
It's, your CHCM.
That's amazing.
Oh, yes.
That's amazing. It's just.
Okay, you guys, to keep us on track and make sure you all get a break, I am going to end it there. I know that we didn't have time to get through all of that, and I know that you probably don't have all the answers for exactly what those goals should be. So it's certainly something I encourage you to work on with your site supervisors as well, of like, what's a reasonable amount that I should be putting into these goals? So something that you can be working on together. So, okay, thank you guys. Now is your 15-minute break. So we actually will give it.